Well, good evening, everybody, from a very, very hot London. We're not used to these temperatures, but I'm delighted that you've joined me, Lynn Julius, and my able technical assistant here, Lawrence. And I welcome all you escapees from the World Cup, because I'm pretty sure that tonight's session will be a lot more interesting than Portugal versus Azerbaijan. So, Harif, as many of you already know, is the UK Association of Jews from the Middle East and North Africa. And we aim to raise awareness of the history, the heritage, and the culture of these Jews. As you probably know, we have a website, always worth visiting our website to know what's coming up. It's www.harif.org. And this session is being recorded, and the video will be up under videos very shortly. We have a news blog called Point of No Return, which is updated every day. And you can subscribe to that as well as subscribing to the Harif website. Our news blog is called Point of No Return, and the easiest way to get to it is by clicking on News on the Harif website. So just a reminder that we are a charity or non-profit, as they say in the States. We are run by a very small number of volunteers, and we do these Zooms pretty regularly online, but we also do in-person events if you happen to be in London. If you would like to make a comment or ask a question, please do so by writing your comment or your question in the chat. So on with tonight's topic, which is going to be delivered by me, a talk being delivered by me on, thank you, Olivia, on Israel's best known spy, Eli Cohen. And he is really a national hero for Israel. So I'm about to share my screen if I can manage it. How come it hasn't appeared? Just one sec. I think I might need some assistance here. Thought I had it.
Let's get your PowerPoint ready first. Sorry about this.
Okay. Thank you very much. So let's get started. Eli Cohen, Eliyahu ben Shaul Cohen, better known as Eli Cohen, who penetrated the highest echelons of the Syrian regime. He was almost named Deputy Defense Minister of Syria, and he was publicly hanged in Damascus in 1965, aged only 41. He was born in Alexandria, Egypt. His father had moved there in 1914 from Aleppo in Syria. Quite a number of Syrian Jews had moved to Egypt after the Suez Canal had opened, as their sources of income had dried up. Eli Cohen's family was lower middle class. He had a good education and spoke Arabic, English, and French. And this would later make him an attractive recruit for Israeli intelligence. At the onset of the Jewish exodus from the Muslim world, Eli Cohen's parents and three brothers fled to Israel in 1949, but Eli stayed behind. Like many Syrian Jews, a pious man, Eli had planned to become a rabbi with guidance from Moise Ventura, Alexandria's chief rabbi. But the city's yeshiva soon closed down. Not being able to afford to buy himself out of the army, he enlisted in 1947, but was kicked out as his loyalty was questioned. He then decided to pursue a degree in electronics at Cairo University, but he dropped out because of harassment by the Muslim Brotherhood. Two films introduced his story to a Western audience. The Impossible Spy came out in 1987. It starred John Shea and Eli Wallach. The Spy was a miniseries made in 2019 for Netflix. It starred the comedian Sacha Baron Cohen in a serious role. These two films made Eli Cohen famous, but how true are they to Eli's story? They claim that he first rejected an offer of a job with Mossad and only agreed to work for them when he was fired from his office job. In fact, the truth is more complicated. And here is a clip from the Netflix series The Spy, which I hope you'll find interesting.
Do you consider yourself a patriot? I love this country with all my mind. Welcome to Syria. If your country needed you to lie to your friends, your family, your wife, would you do it? I would be a buyer working for the government. If your country asked you to risk your life, would you do it? This is the opportunity for me to give you the life that I promised you, Daddy. My name is Kamel Amin Thabit. The Sheikh is your only way in. Please join me. You've made a nice life yourself here in Damascus. When you walk into your room, everyone wants a piece of you. Come in, enjoy. You can trust me with your life. I hope I can do the same. We all have secrets.
This is not a game, Kamel. You are either him or you are dead.
Nadia, I'm worried about him. When's the last time you saw Eli? 11 months ago. Don't leave us.
I don't want to go back. You are saving lives, Annie. Remember that. When I first became Kamal, it was just an act.
You mumble in your sleep. You sometimes shout out names.
Those nightmares that the sheep was talking about. They're not even mine, they're Kamal's.
An honest conversation on what my husband does.
Taking off the clothes, he doesn't work anymore. I can't put him away. That isn't real. That life isn't real. You are Eli Cohen. You need to remember that. It's a bit late for that.
Oops, sorry. It's starting to get
Go on to the next slide.
So both films actually ignore the fact that Eli Cohen was involved with the Zionist underground when he lived in Egypt. And as early as 1951, he was arrested in Egypt for his Zionist activity. The arrest did not stop him. Throughout the 1950s, he took part in Israeli operations in Egypt to smuggle Egyptian Jews fleeing rising anti-Semitism into the Jewish state. namely Operation Goshen, which smuggled in 10,000 Jews. He would raise funds in order to purchase from the local Arabs ammunition and guns stolen from the British. The British had a strong army presence in Egypt at the time. Although it was never proven, Eli may have been part of the sleeper cell of Egyptian Jews that was broken up as a result of the Lavon affair, also known as the unfortunate business or Operation Susanna or Esek Habish in Hebrew. And this was in 1954. The Israeli government's plan to carry out false flag attacks against Western and Egyptian institutions and blame them on the Muslim Brotherhood. As it turned out, the bombs failed to detonate. 2 members of the cell committed suicide, and 2 operatives, Moshe Marzouk and Shmuel Azar, who you see here on the screen, were tried, convicted, and executed by Egypt. Eli was supposed to have sublet a flat to the suspects, destroyed secret documents, and hidden a revolver, but nothing was ever found to incriminate him. In 1955, he traveled to Israel for a brief espionage training course and returned to Egypt. In 1957, along with 25,000 Jews, Eli Cohen was forced to leave Egypt in the wake of the Suez Crisis. The IDF recruited him and he became a counterintelligence analyst and translator. His work bored him and he attempted to join the Mossad, but was offended when the Mossad rejected him as being too reckless. He resigned from military counterintelligence, and for the next 2 years, he worked as a filing clerk in a Tel Aviv insurance office. He met Nadia Majald, who was literally the girl next door, and she was 11 years younger than him. It was love at first sight. In a later interview, Nadia said, "I saw a modest young man. He did not care about money or wealth. I felt he was something exceptional. He was a small talker, but a great doer. He was very clever. He was a diplomat. He knew when to speak and when to be silent. I was happy. He was my support." Nadia's family was from Iraq. They were secular and much better off than Eli's, employing a gardener and a nanny. But like 90% of the Iraqi Jewish community, they left everything behind and came to a tent camp in Israel. There they lived for 6 years. But Nadia was quoted as saying, "The joy in our hearts was great because it was our state." Interestingly enough, Nadia's brother, Eli's brother-in-law, was Sami Michael. Michael became a prize-winning author. He died in April 2024, aged 97. He published 11 novels and 3 non-fiction books. And on the right, you see Victoria, which is actually set in Baghdad and was one of his most popular novels. In Israel, he was a national treasure. Back in Iraq, Mikhail was a member of the Communist Party. He always considered himself a man of the left, striving for dialogue and coexistence between Jews and Arabs, while Eli was a passionate, patriotic Zionist. Apparently, Mikhail too was approached by Mossad to return to Iraq as a spy, which Mikhail thought was a preposterous suggestion. So Jews like Eli Cohen from Arab countries were the nucleus of the Mossad, Israel's intelligence agency. In his book, Spies of No Country, the Israeli author and journalist Mati Friedman describes the Arab section, which was conceived during World War II. It consisted of Jews native to the Middle East who could easily assume Arab identities. And that work is probably now mainly done by Arabs or Iranians. By the time Eli Cohen was recruited, Mossad had developed an impressive level of sophistication. Cover stories were constructed that necessitated months of training, learning Morse code and map reading, and the use of foreign languages. The Mossad recruited Cohen because it was looking for an intelligence officer to infiltrate the Syrian government. Meir Amit, the Director General, was looking through the agency files of rejected candidates. For 2 weeks, Cohen was put under surveillance and was judged suitable for recruitment and training. He did a series of sports tests, medical checkups, and exercises designed to test his endurance. He soon impressed his handlers with his photographic memory. His performance was rated outstanding. He was told not to say a word about his new role, even to his wife. Nadia recalls that she was 24 when he left her for the first time with her 4-month-old baby, Sophie. He used to write letters as if he was in Europe. When he came back, Sophie was over a year old. He was different, Nadia said. He had gained 4 kilos, had grown a Turkish moustache. His training involved his changing his dialect from Egyptian to Syrian, and he used to speak it with his grandmother, Sophia. A stranger from Mossad would come to the house to teach him Islamic prayers. And here you see Nadia and Eli with their 3 children, and I think another couple of friends of the children. Eli Cohen was given a false identity as a Syrian businessman, Kamal Amin Tabet. He was returning to the country after living in Argentina. To establish his cover, Eli moved to Buenos Aires in 1961. There he mingled with the Arab community, letting it be known that he had large amounts of money to put at the disposal of the nationalist Syrian Ba'ath Party. At this time, the Ba'ath Party was illegal in Syria. Eli moved to Damascus in February 1962. Mossad intended him to build relations with high-ranking Syrian politicians, military officials, public figures, and the diplomatic community. He continued his social life as he had in Argentina. He spent time listening to gossip in cafes. He held parties at home for Syrian ministers and businessmen. He dispensed free-flowing liquor and prostitutes. The Netflix series shows him as a womanizer and bon viveur, and even suggests that he had affairs with other women, a fact strenuously denied by his wife, Nadia. He would pretend to be drunk to encourage conversations. He lent money to officials and dispensed advice. Syria had been in an unpopular union with Egypt. Syria was the junior partner. The Nationalist Ba'ath Party, which had 50,000 members, staged a coup in March 1963. Tanks and troops filled the streets. Amin al-Hafiz, not to be confused with Hafiz al-Assad, later president and leader of the Ba'ath Party, he had been military attaché in Argentina, where Eli had befriended him. So Hafiz made a fiery speech denouncing the Egyptians and praising the Ba'ath. Hafiz himself was named president, and all the best friends of Kamal Amin Tabet became ministers and leaders. A magnificent party was thrown for all the regime's supporters by, guess who? Kamal Amin Tabet. Syria was then a haven for ex-Nazis, and the most famous was Alois Brunner. The investigative writer Ronen Bergman claims that Eli located Alois Brunner, known as the right-hand man of the architect of the final solution, Adolf Eichmann. An Israeli intelligence unit later sent letter bombs to Brunner, but I don't think they did any damage to him. One evening in 1962, as he was leaning over his transmitter, he received an urgent directive from Israel to locate the war criminal Franz Rademacher, who was hiding in Syria under the assumed name John Rosalie. Eli found out Rosalie's address and paid a contract killer $1,000 to have him eliminated. The plan did not work, as he died in 1963. In another version of events, Eli Cohen delivered a letter bomb to him in a failed assassination attempt. One of Eli's greatest exploits was to alert Israel about the Syrian plan to divert the headwaters of the River Jordan and prevent two of them, the Habani and Banyas sources, from flowing into the Sea of Galilee. This was an existential threat, as it would have cut off Israel's water supply. Eli found out about the Arab League plan after meeting Mohammed bin Laden, the father of Osama bin Laden. Mohammed bin Laden was the owner of a large building concern who had been hired to execute the project. In what was known as the War over Water, on the 13th of November 1964, Syrian positions opened fire on Israeli tractors and army patrols. A tank and heavy artillery force returned fire, destroyed Syrian tanks and earth-moving equipment, and the attack caused the entire deviation project to be postponed. But Eli's most famous achievement was to glean intelligence on the Syrian fortifications on the Golan Heights. Soldiers could take pot shots on the kibbutzim in the valley below. Eli became a close friend of the unit commander in the area and the only civilian permitted to circulate without restriction on the Great Ridge. He found out the Syrian attack and defense plans, where the arms were stored, the fortifications, and facts and figures about the strength of the force. He gave the local commanders presents and entertained them in his home at all hours. But the achievement that Eli is best known for may have been the stuff of legend. There is a widely believed story that he feigned sympathy for the soldiers exposed to the sun and had eucalyptus trees planted at every gun emplacement to provide shade on the Golan. The IDF were alleged to have used the trees as target markers during the Six-Day War in 1967, which enabled Israel to capture the Golan Heights in just 2 days. But the story of the eucalyptus trees was never confirmed. Eli also learned of a secret plan to create 3 successive lines of bunkers and mortars. The intelligence that Eli gathered was an important factor in Israel's victory in the Six-Day War. And his information allowed Israel to prepare for a surprise attack and to neutralize Syria's military capabilities. His intelligence even led to the successful Israeli attack on the Syrian military's radar system during the Six-Day War in 1967. And here's a scene from the Netflix film The Spy, where the Mossad people are implementing the information that Eli had given them in this sort of model of the Golan Heights. Back in 1964, he had a narrow escape. A friend called Zahir al-Din passed through his house and flopped on his bed. Eli hurried into the bedroom shaking. On the dresser near the bed were a few code papers. He dismissed them as crosswords. Despite the fact his cover was nearly blown, Israeli intelligence asked him to return to Syria one more time. In The Impossible Spy, the Mossad asked him not to go back to Syria, but in the Netflix series, it is Eli who wants to go back. He has taken on the personality of Kamal Amin Thabit. According to Nadia, Mossad forced him to go back one last time. They were dazzled by the prospect that he might become a minister. Nadia had a premonition that she would never see him again. Before leaving, Eli assured Nadia that it would be his last trip and they would be a family again. The Syrians had already had their suspicions that a high-level spy was among them. In January 1965, Syrian officials, assisted by Soviet experts with Russian-made tracking equipment, successfully detected radio transmissions and located Eli's transmitter. They broke into Eli's apartment and claimed to have caught him red-handed in the middle of a transmission to Israel. One of the Syrian officers was Ahmed Swidani, who had never liked Eli. He was head of intelligence and counter-espionage. He snatched the radio out of Eli's hand and smiled. "So we've finally caught up with you." Eli tried in vain to say he was an Arab immigrant from Argentina. Once the news of his capture got out, Israel and Belgium, Canada and France appealed to Syria not to execute Eli. Even the Pope tried to intercede. The campaign for clemency was led by Nadia and a human rights lawyer. But the Syrians were too angry and embarrassed by the whole fiasco. They showed no mercy. Cohen was found guilty of espionage by a military tribunal and sentenced to death. The investigative reporter Ronen Bergman was convinced that Eli was tortured. His sunken eyes bore witness to it. His captors had torn out his fingernails and applied electrodes to his sexual organs. The man who recruited and trained Eli, Gedalia Halaf, told Bergman, "I looked at him, at my Eli on Syrian TV, and I saw in his face the diabolical torments he had undergone. I didn't know what to do with myself. I wanted to scream." Eli Cohen wrote his final letter to Nadia on the 15th of May, 1965. "I am begging you, Nadia, not to spend your time weeping about something already past. Concentrate on yourself, looking forward to a better future." His final wish was to see a rabbi, and Nissim Indibo, the chief rabbi of Syria, went with him in the truck to the gallows. Eli Cohen was publicly hanged in Marge Square on the 18th of May, 1965. Syria refused to return Eli's body to his family in Israel. His wife, Nadia, wrote to Al-Hafiz in November 1965 asking for his forgiveness and requesting Eli's remains. It is claimed that the Syrians buried him 3 times to stop the Israelis from taking back the remains to Israel. Eli's brothers, Abraham and Morris, led a campaign to return his remains. Morris died in 2006 and Nadia took over. In 2018, the press announced that Eli's watch had been retrieved from Syria. It was up for sale, and Mossad managed to capture it. It was presented to Eli's family and is now on display, I think, at the Eli Cohen Museum. Nadia never remarried, and for 30 years, she refused to talk about Eli. Here are her 3 children, Sophie, Irit, and Shai. Did she know that her husband was a spy? I think she had a good idea. She opened letters for Mossad she was not meant to open and realized that her husband was not too far away from home. "I am proud of what he did, but I never felt that I had a husband," she said. "The children never felt they had a father." When Eli left home for the last time, her son Shai was only 3 weeks old. Although she was married to him for only 4 years, a time interrupted by frequent periods when he was away on his secret mission, her whole life has revolved round him. Now the campaign to have his body returned to Israel has been led by their eldest daughter, Sophie. Eli Cohen has become a national hero. His contributions to Israel's security were recognized posthumously by the Israeli government, and he was awarded the Medal of Distinguished Service, Israel's second highest honor. His name was added to the list of fallen soldiers at the Mount Herzl Military Cemetery in Jerusalem. And many streets and neighborhoods in Israel have been named after him. The settlement of Eliad on the Golan is named after him. And there is a nature trail in the Golan Heights with various sculptures as signposts. The Eli Cohen Museum opened in December 2022 in Herzliya. It now offers its first English language tours devoted to Eli Cohen's life. And it's the only public space in Israel offering an English language tour dedicated solely to his story. Interestingly enough, his story spread to the Arab world. And when Nadia gave an interview to the Babylonian Jewry Heritage Center near Tel Aviv, its manager, Lily Shaw, was excited to tell Nadia that she and her family, then a remnant of a tiny repressed Jewish community in Baghdad, had read an Arabic version of the book on Eli Cohen that was in the late 60s. And the book passed secretly from house to house with utmost caution, Lily told Nadia. If they'd been caught with it, members of the family would immediately have been led to the gallows. What courage we had then, with what thirst and enthusiasm Jews read the book, she said. They did so at great speed because everyone was queuing up to read the book. I brimmed with pride and respect discussing the story with other Jews. Even though I was a young girl, everything remained etched in my memory. And this is the medal that was awarded posthumously to Eli Cohen, and some of the sculptures that serve as signposts on the Eli Cohen trail.
It's the watch.
And, oh, sorry, this is the watch, sorry. Okay, so an important source for this lecture was this book, Our Man in Damascus by Eli Ben Hanan. I found the book free to download on the internet, and the person who uploaded it was an Arab. He didn't do it out of admiration to show off Eli's exploits, but I quote, understand the Jewish mentality and their stubbornness. He wanted the book to help him to learn English, and was happy to know that some people in the Arab world managed to capture this foolish spy. So what has happened since the fall of the Assad regime? On the 18th of May, 2025, on the 60th anniversary of Eli Cohen's execution, the Israeli Prime Minister's office announced that approximately 2,500 documents and personal items belonging to Eli Cohen were retrieved from Syria in a covert Mossad operation. And this was hailed as an achievement of the highest moral order by Mossad. And the collection constituted the entirety of the Syrian archive on Eli Cohen, and it included handwritten letters to his family, evidence of communications with senior Syrian officials, photos from his time undercover, personal belongings, such as the keys to his Damascus apartment, and his original will, written hours before his execution. And all these documents were given to Nadia. Now, the archive was supposedly delivered to Israel with the blessing of the new Syrian president, Ahmed al-Shara, and hinted at the involvement of the Turkish or the Saudi intelligence services. The fact that the documents were exposed just a few days after a meeting between President Trump and his Syrian counterpart al-Shara during Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia is seen as an indication that al-Shara was leveraging the sensitive documents as a confidence-building measure towards Washington. He realized that the Cohen archive was important to the Israelis and that its return could amount to a significant diplomatic gesture. Also in October 2025, a Saudi channel reported that the remains of Eli Cohen were expected to be transferred to Israel, but Nadia Cohen said that Mossad had denied any knowledge of this. And she said, that's his passport, his Israeli passport. And this is Nadia looking at some of the documents with Benjamin Netanyahu. So she said, I have hope that what's happening in Syria will allow for more flexibility. I'm full of optimism all the time, and it's on my mind and in my heart all the time. I haven't lost hope. So on that note, I'll stop my screen.
Right, then you've got a quiz for people. What's that?
I've got a quiz. Okay, where are we? Is it in the chat?
Where that is?
What are you looking at?
The screen. Look at your screen.
Ah, okay. What is this?
56 Allenby. That's the story.
Okay, so 56 Allenby actually features in the Netflix film The Spy, and it is supposedly where Eli Cohen was summoned to be interviewed by Mossad. So this was like the Mossad building. And on a visit to...
They're watching from over the road.
They were watching from over the road in the film, that's right. And we actually tried to find this building on Allenby. So number 56, I don't think there's anything there now. I don't think there's any connection with Mossad. But anyway, it was a bit of fun. So that's the story. Very sad. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for the additional information. So Ephraim says Brunner was badly mangled. He lost a hand and more. Oh, that's good. So it wasn't entirely a failed assassination attempt. And Yitzhak Kerem says Mossad injured Brunner after many attempts, and the regime arrested and imprisoned him for several years until his death. Oh, thank you for that. There's a book by Danny Auerbach, and Brunner's assumed name was George Fisher. Oh dear.
Does anyone want to ask questions? If you want to ask a question, raise your hand and we will let you in, except for the people, one person called Blackberry. We don't know who you are, so I'm afraid I won't try and mute you unless I know who you are.
Okay. So, well, there's a question from Michael. I did explain that there were two films made about him. One is called The Impossible Spy, and that was made in 1987, starring John Shea and Eli Wallach. And the most recent one is The Spy on Netflix. And the book I mentioned, Our Man in Damascus, which is free to upload.
Yeah, and we do have it. You also have a copy here. Holly wants to say something, so Holly, I'll ask you to unmute.
Okay, it's a new phone, you know. That's why I'm able to. That's why I'm able. That's why I'm able to come back to Harif. I got a new phone.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful.
First, I want to thank you both, Lawrence and Lynn, for this presentation. This was quite a compelling story. Are Eli's daughters continuing with their mom in helping continue his legacy? I don't even think the girls, they're young women now. They don't even probably remember their dad.
Well, they don't remember their dad because they were very young, and the boy was only 3 weeks old.
No.
So he won't have any recollection at all. But the eldest daughter, Sophie, is still campaigning for Eli's body to be returned to Israel. And she's had contacts with the Gulf states. She's approached I think quite a few people in the hope that someone somewhere can help. We'll see if this new regime in Syria delivers
Terrible.
goods. It's all rather frustrating. I mean, it is incredible that Nadia has devoted her whole life to someone that she was only married to for 4 years.
She loved him.
And that, yeah, obviously, and
She
and
loved
the children are obviously completely wrapped up in his story as well. So there's something. Michael asks, what was it? Oh, he says, in the Netflix series, it shows Ellie remarried a Muslim woman while living in Syria.
I think she wanted to marry. Actually married.
Yeah, I don't think he actually married her, but actually it could have been, artistic license, anything, anything in these films. I don't think you can rely on to be absolutely 100% accurate. I think it added a bit of romantic spice to the story.
Is it anyone else would anyone else like to ask a question? Yitzhak or Ephraim, or add some more background? You just raise your electronic hand, I will
So sorry, Yitzhak says Fernanda Benedetto Shapira has a new book on her spying in the Second Lavon group. She saved 720 paratroopers in the Sinai campaign. I've heard about this lady, Fernanda. And I've been told she is not altogether reliable, actually.
So before I do a thank you to my wife, because someone has to thank her, does anyone else want to ask a question? Last chance, raise your electronic hand. Well, Lynn, for the first time, you have stumped everyone. We didn't need VAR and no red cards tonight.
No red cards. Oh, that's good. That's good.
Thank you very much. And we look forward to hearing the next story. And I'll just put on the adverts now.
Yeah, don't stop the recording yet.
Oh, okay. The adverts on.
Yeah, I mean, Batya says we could tell the story of Shula Cohen Kishik. I have to say, I've got some information on the blog, Point of No Return, about Shula, the spy from Beirut. Absolutely amazing story as well.
Do you have my adverts on the screen, Danny, or not?
I can't see anything much. Just
It's not happening. Why?
Serena, you've got a book coming out. Maybe Serena can tell us a little bit about her book. Just a minute.
So if you raise your electronic hand, I can see you easily, Serena. Well, I've got to find you.
Yeah, I can see her. She's wearing a stripy top.
No, it's a question. It's not that easy, Lynn.
Yeah, she's waving.
Okay.
Okay, can you unmute, Serena? Yeah.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
Yeah, lovely to see you.
So yeah, I have a book coming out, hopefully by the end of the year. It's at the publisher. It's called Syrian Jewish Paths to Freedom. And it covers this period in Syria from 1948 to 1992. There is a chapter about Shula Cohen and Albert Aliyah. Albert Aliyah followed Shula Cohen in terms of helping Jews escaping Syria to get out of Syria after Shula was arrested in 1961 by the Lebanese government and jailed. She was released after the 1967 war in a prisoner exchange and lived out the rest of her life in Israel. And then Albert Aliyah was kidnapped off the streets of Beirut in 1971. And I've interviewed both of their daughters for the chapter in my book about the role that Beirut played in helping Syrian Jews and Iraqi Jews also get out of Syria. So get out of Syria and escape to freedom to Israel.
Right.
I think
So
that makes
yeah.
a lovely
Yes,
future
but-
Harif talk. Can we
Yeah,
sign you up?
exactly. Can I sign you up, Serena,
Of
for
course,
a
Lynn,
talk?
you know
Yeah.
you can, of course.
So let us know when it's out, the book, and we'd love a Harif talk about it.
Okay.
No, second haven't shown yet.
Okay, but just before you do, Lawrence, I just wanted to say that I don't know if any of you have heard about Gad Saad. He's quite a famous Canadian professor born in Beirut. And I came across the fact that he had said in a podcast that his parents had been abducted from Lebanon by the Abu Nidal group. I don't know, Serena, if you've heard of this. And, you know, he'd actually mentioned that in several interviews, but this was the first time that he actually said that he intimated that they'd been tortured and there was all this toing and froing. They put pressure on Assad to use his influence on Arafat to let them go, and in the end, I think a large sum of money changed hands, and they were released. But this was quite an interesting story, and I put it up on the Point of No Return blog, I think yesterday, if anyone's interested.
I look at it, there was a lot of money that changed hands over the years, but none of
Yeah.
it to move the needle in letting the Jews go.
Mm.
There were, you know, in my book, I talk about protests, visits to different consulates, different organizations that were created literally around the world in Great Britain and France, student organizations, adult organizations, protests, you name it, millions of dollars that went in to help the Jews of Syria, but nothing moved the needle until the fall of the Soviet Union, which enabled the Americans to come in with a lot of political pressure from my community in Brooklyn. But it enabled the Americans to come in and say, you know, you can't have any money because Syria needed money and Gorbachev cut them off. And the idea was they needed money, they needed arms, and every conversation with the United States was, what about the Jews? What about the Jews? When are you letting the Jews go? When are you letting the Jews go? And finally, Assad didn't really have much of a choice. So Passover 1992, we call it the Second Exodus. That's when he gave permission for them to leave. But there was still complications. There was a lot of bakshish. And all of the money that went in from the JDC over a 40-something year period, a lot of it was taken in bakshish.
Right.
Bakshish is, you know, bribes. They would take more than half of it. You know, if
Yeah, that's the usual story, isn't it?
yeah, matzah went in for Passover, they would show it to the community and then they would smash it to pieces and, you know, all kinds of cruelties and things like that, you know.
Yeah,
They
terrible.
would say you can buy tefillin and the tefillin would come and then they would burn it in front of their faces.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, all kinds of really horrible things, besides the torture and the murders and the rapes and all of that kind of stuff that went on.
Yeah. So no, we look forward to you talking about your book. I just want to tell those of you in London that we are actually going to show the final part in the series made by the Sephardi Heritage Museum. That's the Syrian Center in Brooklyn, I think. Is it, Serena? Are they in
They're actually
Brooklyn?
located in Lakewood, but yeah, they're
Right.
right.
Okay.
I'm surprised they gave you permission. Congratulations.
Yeah, I don't know. I know bakshish changed hands, I have to say.
The first one that they're allowing to do that because I don't think they've been shown outside the community. So
Oh, really? Well,
congratulations. Yeah.
we're very privileged. We've actually shown number 6 in the series, which was the penultimate one about how the Syrian Jews were persecuted in the 70s and
Okay.
80s. But the final program in the series talks about the rescue, which you've just touched on, Serena, the rescue.
It's not really a rescue.
No.
It's not really a rescue. And it's not an airlift either, because they came every week. Plane loads would come.
Right.
It happened over a period of
Over a period.
Over a period of 2 years. And in fact, in 1993, Assad closed the doors again because there was a election of an American president, and then they had to go to Clinton to get Clinton to put pressure to allow the remaining, it was like another 1,500 people that were left. So,
right.
But it's estimated that there's more than $10 billion in property left in Syria.
Yes.
Something like in that neighborhood, at least 10, 12 billion with a B.
Yes, I've heard that figure, 10 billion, definitely.
Yeah, but it's, I mean, throughout the Middle East, there's, hundreds of billions.
But, 263 billion, I think, at the last count.
Yeah. So that's what Rabbi Abadi talks about, injustice for Jews in Arab lands.
That's right. So if anyone's interested and if you're in London, so we're planning to show that film on the 8th of December, I think it is. So that's towards the end of the year. Anyway, so thank you very much. So you've been watching the adverts, hopefully taking it all in. In terms of online, can you run it again?
They're running in the background.
Oh, yeah, okay. So our next event is actually a film, an in-person film. Apologies to those of you not in London. So that's tonight. The film is a Libyan Jewish story. It's called Le Cose Non Dette. And it's going to be in the presence of the actual director who's flying in from Rome. And Baghdadi Builders of Singapore, very proud to be actually talking about the Baghdadi community there. Well, not me personally, but we've got an expert who's actually joining us from Singapore at 2 a.m. And many other things are planned for the future. So I think what we will do now is as is our custom, unmute everybody. So
you have to take BlackBerry out.
Okay, BlackBerry is in our bad books.
We don't know who you are. If you let me know who you are,
you can stay on, but everyone else will be unmuted.
If you know who you are, you're very welcome to join. But we don't. The one condition we have for joining the thing. Is we need.
Did you say that Matty Friedman had a book about Eli Cohen?
Who did?
Did you say that Matty Friedman had a book about?
No, it wasn't about Eli Cohen. It was about the spies, the early Mossad, Mossad. But they were mainly Syrians. They were mainly Syrian Jews.
Yes, I saw that.
Mustaravim.
Yeah, I have that book. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone is able to unmute themselves now. And if you can do it in an orderly fashion, that would be great. Remove all the spotlights, including my wife.
I think I think Batia wants to say something. Batia?
Yes, please.
Go on.
I see that you're talking a lot about Lebanon,